Hey family, hey loved ones, hey fools. Hey, I'm just doing a video today and it's ended up being in several different parts because my camera keeps turning off and I don't know what that's about. So I'm getting a little bit cut off here and it's kind of funny. Um, yeah, because I am wanting to go into the stage of dismemberment and talk about that. And so we have a little bit of time. I left off talking about the obedience experiments that Stanley Milgram had done in 1961 and 1962, and reading from Caroline Mace's book, Sacred Contracts, about the shadow. And have a few minutes to talk about, a couple of things and that I wanted to get into. And I started out in part one talking about empowerment and disempowerment and asking some questions about, like where can we direct our energy in more empowering ways? And like this is around fertility and like our creative energy, support, growth, transformation, and reevaluation. And evaluating or reevaluating our own worth and our own power and our own responsibilities. And so how can we show up and care for ourselves, or how do we choose to care for ourselves? And can we honor our own energy and direct our power in the world to serve the whole, this whole right here, the larger whole, and the whole that we are, that part in the whole that we are. Where can we challenge ourselves? Where can we allow ourselves? Where can we value ourselves? And where can we be accountable for ourselves? Are our choices and ways of operating, can we see where they might deplete us, drain us, or support or restore us? So those are good things to look at. What kind of patterns are at play, and do those patterns serve us or do they take away? Do they contribute to who we are? Do they encourage who we are? Do they develop who we are, or do they dishonor, disallow who we are? And so just talking about the shadow and the choices that we have, and aligning our heart, mind, and our will, and confronting the shadow, learning to confront and ultimately manage, or I'd say get to know our shadow, because I don't know if we really manage it, because that sounds a little bit too much like control, or that ego sense of control to me, like to manage it. I don't know if it's just more about harmonizing or cooperating with the shadow, with the seen and the unseen, and knowing that it's a dance and an interchange, so or an exchange of some kind. So many people fear their own empowerment and unconsciously encourage their shadow to thrive. This happens in particular when conscious empowerment represents change, which can be terrifying. Change signals loss of control and entry into the unknown, but even beyond fear of change, empowerment represents isolation, which people will do anything to avoid. Perhaps this is the very core of our paradoxical view of empowerment. Our image of awakening and fulfilling our divine potential evokes the idea of an individual who is whole and complete, separated from lesser mortals, isolated and alone. Culturally, we have yet to envision a realistic, appealing model of the spiritually empowered human being, someone who is simultaneously vulnerable, capable of sensual love, and worthy of a mate. We believe that enlightened people don't have the same needs or vulnerabilities that we do, or the same shadows. We also believe that enlightened people don't age, suffer, or mourn. I have seen the archetype of the whole perfected human at work countless times in people. You would think that someone with her occupation would be above such emotions, people say, when a spiritual role model is shown to have feet of clay. Or you should see the way he lives, he's anything but celibate. We do not want to be whole if it means being alone, and we do not want enlightenment if it requires living as an ascetic. So, deep within our unconscious, we feed the energy of the saboteur, that part of ourselves that maintains our shadow pattern and fuels our fragmentation. We fear our own empowerment because it represents change in our lives that would remove us from the warmth of those who love us for being vulnerable. And we fear being empowered because then we can no longer claim that we are not responsible for our actions. Although we want to be around a person who is enlightened or consciously working on becoming enlightened, we deeply fear the high price of our own enlightenment. Yeah, that high price that it will make us pay. So there is no such thing as a work-free transformation, which was stated in the first stage of the Handless Maiden and Women Who Run with the Wolves. Yeah, chopping the wood. Chop wood, carry water. If we don't chop wood, then we chop off our own hands. Or although we want to be, we cannot, assuming personal responsibility for the quality not only of our actions but also of our attitudes is a lifetime discipline. We cannot rest in the harbor of blame, so we unconsciously and sometimes consciously encourage our own weaknesses and hold on to our fears. As long as becoming enlightened represents isolation for us, we will shun our own empowerment. We fear to realize our highest potential, and this inevitably affects our creative, financial, and career potential. So I'm just going to leave it right there with that, and then go into just a couple things that relate. So what I realized as well, like there were certain things that were coming up for me to face and for me to look at that I hadn't seen yet or considered yet. And I got to see this yesterday, where it was like, oh, well, yeah. And definitely it relates to last June as well. And it's the Mother Superior and the know-it-all and the spiritual ego at play. The spiritual ego at play, teehee. And seeing how this aspect can operate through certain agendas to make itself feel secure or feel that its place is secure. A control strategy to think I know, therefore I am. But maybe I'm really addicted or so hungry for the positive feedback of reassurance, validation, recognition, approval, and VIP belonging or adoration. The one that wants to be seen, heard, and accepted. So, that may have to do with my child and my idealist and my teacher, my preacher, my innocent. But and it's my self-importance, making myself right and making me important, separate. But does that make me inaccessible or unaccessible? And that where the pedestal comes in. To prove that I am right and I am worthy of love, praise, belonging, friendship, and intimacy, to prove my worth, my goodness, my rightness, my enlightenedness, LOL, my gifts and my words and my great experience, to be received, seen, witnessed, recognized. And thank you, spiritual ego. I see the value and worth of my whole self and soul, my whole being, and my love for all. I recognize the value and worth of this learning and growing, the rewiring, remembering, and embodying, dreaming, living, being, becoming who we are, all I am, and get to be. I am worthy, and I praise myself and thank myself. I bless myself and love myself. I acknowledge my value, worth, and being. I recognize the value of what is occurring and the joy of the movement, unfolding, playing out, expressing. Expressing this love through me. So it looks like my video is gonna cut off again and turn off again. So I guess I'll see what my technical difficulties, what's going on with that. And we'll come back with the dismemberment, the second stage, and see how that relates to all of these things that I have been, just kind of weaving into my tapestry. So thanks for listening, and I hope you're all well. All right, love y'all. Okay, see you soon. Bye for now.